is that a requirement? Well, if you don't read Hebrew, you have no idea what he's talking about. When you make my name holy instead of profane, we've been making your name holy. We've been telling the story of Jesus this whole time. But if the word halal, where you get the word hell, literally it sounds like the story of Jesus, and the more we perpetuate the story of Jesus, we're still not making it kadosh. Nor can we, because we have no idea what he's talking about. So we first have to determine what the word kadosh means, and then we have to start talking about it and proclaiming his kadoshim in the eyes, because the word ayin means understanding, not just eyeball, in the eyes of the goyim, the scattered ones who don't know how to read, because the word goy comes from the root word of hadah, which happens to be hey, gimel, hey, which is the same word for navigation, steering wheel, helm, rudder, articulating pronunciation, navigating, pondering, meditating. The same exact word, which is to steer the seas, is the same word for thinking and pondering and considering. That's in the plural of that would be the goyim. The goyim nations are the ones that have no steering and no rudder because they can't think straight, because all they've done is inherited Babylonic languages, Greek, Hebrew, or Greek, English, Latin, and various other ones. And it's not Hebrew. And if Hebrew is the designated reach-down hand of Anochi telling you this is the plumb line, this is the way to think, the word for Lashon is the language of the lip or the tongue of those which have become Babylon and astray. But the word Shin Pei Hey is Shafeh, which has to do with the language. It also means to put over the fire, to clarify and become pure, to restore to health and to cure from insanity. The language of Hebrew restores to health, cures from sanity, and refines and makes clear, whereas these other languages is that which complicates, and the English is the most, what they call bifurcated, which is forked and split and blended together and turned around, and it's a great commercial language, but it's brought all these other languages in. It is not kadosh. What's kadosh? If Hebrew is kadosh, then you have to look at these languages and say, what do these mean, and what do they say? So instead of Aleph is an ox, Bet is a plan, I will render it pretty quickly for you so you just get up to speed of what we're talking about. Aleph means, here I'll write it here so you can see. Aleph means I am or I will. It's the prefix, so when he says, as I have planned so it shall be, and as I've heard it so it come about, Aleph says, this is what I'm going to do. Here's the plan. Bet. Materialize, make the cosmos, make the universe. Gimel, set the thing in motion. Well, if Dalet speaks of the earth, then this is the earth in particular. It's a door, but it's also a place of choice. And then you got the letter Hey, which means to reveal like a window, and Vav is a nail or a hook, but it's also number 6, which they say, well, 666, the number of man. You got the letter Zion, which is a weapon, which is the number 7. And then you've got the letter Het, which is a fence or an enclosure. Then you've got the letter Tet, which is a full basket. They say it's a snake because it goes around. But actually, a belt goes all around your waist. It goes 360 degrees. It means 100%. So the letter Tet is a fullness, not just a snake. They say, well, that's the one letter that's not written up in all the words of the Ten Commandments. So that must be the evil letter because it's the snake. Oh, that's the serpent. That's the devil. And so that's why it's not in the Ten Commandments. Like, that's people running off with concepts. And what I'm saying is you might hear these different voices. That doesn't make it true. How do you know what the truth is? It goes back on to say, how do you render this whole thing? If you look at the first, here's the 10th letter Yod, which is the hand. A minyan is a group of 10. There's something about a group of 10 which is something solid. But if you take 7, the 7 is like, well, here's the 7th day. So that's like the Shabbat, right? So you can say, well, that's like the Sabbath day. But the letter 7 being a weapon means to cut something off. The letter Het means a fence, means how. Now here's something that's segregated, that's set apart over here, which is its own thing. So there's this inferred break between these two. So you could sit there and say, if Aleph is a prefix, meaning I am or I will, because if you read Eya, Asher, Eya, it can mean I am that I am, or I will be what I will be. So the letter Aleph can mean both I am or I will. It's this concept. It's not exactly literal. Bet, Gimel, Dalet happens to be the word baged. That's the way you pronounce it. And literally what it means is where we get the word bagged or baggy. It means to camouflage. It's clothing which is loose so you can't see the true form. As compared to Samik Lamed Hey, which is simila. And if you wear spandex as clothing, you will see your body shape. It's very similar. Similar. Spandex is non-bagged, non-baggy. This camouflages your shape. Hey is to reveal. And if Vav number 6 happens to be the man, then you could read this, Aleph through Zion, as I am or I will make the universe and set the thing in motion so that man will be on earth and choose to be cut off and become part of the kingdom. So if Het represents the Mishkan fence, which is a big four-sided linen with the four-colored door, which is blue, purple, red with white linen, man can then choose to be entering the set-apart kingdom. Or you could say, I will, Bet Gimel Dalet, incorporate myself into matter, give myself a foot, be the voyager, the ambassador, to come to the earth, revealed as the man who would be slain and entombed in a crypt, the stone rolled in front and sealed because I'll be dead, and yet by my hand I have done this. Is that Christianity? No, that's ancient Hebrew. Well, who's he talking about? So for the Jews to say, oh, the Almighty, he would never, he's the infinite one, he would never become a man. He would never come and walk the face of the earth. A, B, C, D, E, F, G. I will give myself a body, come voyaging to the earth, revealed as the man who would be slain. That's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. And the word 7 happens to be Shin, Bet, Ayin, which is the word Shavah, which happens to mean a sworn oath, a vow. And it's the obligations incurred by an oath, which if you break, you are now under the curse. So why did he come here? Because of the curse that man did by breaking the covenant of being part of the kingdom. But he says, so for the Jewish bride to walk around her husband 7 times is to swear a vow. For us to keep the 7 festivals is to keep the vow. For us to keep the Sabbath days is to keep the vow. Swearing fidelity and allegiance unto Yahweh is what that number 7 means. So if somebody says, I just changed the Sabbath day. You're breaking the vow. Forget the 7 festivals. We'll give you Christmas, Easter, and Halloween. We're breaking the vow. And as such, as breaking the vow, we're now incurring the curse that comes on account of the vow, which is why he came, because of the curse that was invoked on account of breaking the vow. So for us to go back and keep the festivals and the Shabbat is to say, we will hear and we will do. We will hear what you said to Moshe. We will hear your instructions, which are the plans out of your own heart. And I could sit there and say, well, is this Hebrew or is this Christian? Well, it looks like it's both, but it's neither. Because it's not invoking the authority of the rabbis, it's not invoking the authority of the vicar of Christ, the Pope. It's simply saying, these are the original language. Now then, if you look at Yod, and then you say, well, if Het, Tet, Yod line up with Pesach, the big white fence, and then you look at Kaf and Lamed lining up with the altar of sacrifice, what's the altar of sacrifice? It's like a grate, a filter grate. It's got lines. They brought a sacrifice, they cut it up, they put some things here and other things, the fat, the juices, they drip through. What do you do when you bring a sacrifice? You start dismembering it, you chop it up, and some things are offered and some things are done. The skin, the parts of the body you put over here, and the entrails. You start separating things. What do you do when you come into the kingdom? As soon as you come into the gate of Pesach, saying, I choose for Yahweh to be my Elohim, instead of the pharaohs of Egypt and the rulers of the world to be my Elohim, because I've been out in the darkness, the place where a man is under the weapon of his otherwise leaders. So the place of the red heifer sacrifice, which was the sacrifice put to the weapon, the place that Yeshua was killed is outside the fence, so that we can enter the kingdom of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh. And upon coming into the kingdom of Yod-Heh-Vav-Heh, Tet, we're sealed. Circumcision is also this seal that you're his, which is ring around the collar, you might say. That's a little lift down there. These things are Yahweh's design. The point is, you come in, you're claimed by his. He says only the circumcised can enjoy Pesach, can come in because this is my family, my people. It's like a branding iron. You know, the old Wild West, they had kind of the neck shape, and you burn the brand. It's like, you're now owned. You're possessed by the one who is now your master. Yahweh says, you come into my kingdom. You can only come in because of the blood of the sacrificed one, whether it's the red heifer, whether it's Yeshua, the model type is there. You come in, you're claimed as mine. Tet is also means spinning like a potter's wheel, and Yod, the author's hand, the potter's hand now starts forming you, and according to Kaf Lamed, his list, lines of instruction, the festival inside is unleavened bread. You separate leaven from the unleavened. You separate the things which are of his kingdom from those things not of his kingdom. You learn the constitution, the protocols of the kingdom. How soon before the break?
Well, whenever. Go ahead. What do you
You want to take a break right now? Yes?
Yeah,
Do I want to take a break right now, or should I run
Do
through
you want
the list?
something to drink? Are you all right?
Yeah,
No.
take a break. Let's take a break for
Wanna take a
about
break?
10 minutes.
Okay.
Get some water, take a bathroom break. Yeah.
The chairs aren't the most comfortable either. Hey, if anybody's interested in that chart that he's talking about, there's a real chart around the wall here that you can look at. That one Jeannie stole offline from some guy, and she printed it out on a bunch of copies and taped it all together. Look good. But I think the guys up there are still in it. But anyways, there's a real one around the corner right here, so nobody might see it.
Okay, so here's the thing. If you know the letters according to this pattern, what I have all the other places. But if you don't know the pattern, the other ones are like, oh, sure.
I know. It all makes sense. Yeah, we are. That's the whole church people.
I'm drawn in, but it's like so far away. Say something else.
Yeah. It all makes sense. It's just hard to keep up with all these things and the words and all that. But as I hear it, though, it's making sense. That's the thing. As I hear it, it's making sense.
Thank you.
I'm spinning. Yeah. So, but it's my pleasure. Is if the Greek is an abominable language. So, the apostles write it in Greek, and they write it in. Huh? No, I'm not sure. But no, the apostles. When the New Testament was written, was it written in Greek? Yeah. Well, we're most of it. Transcripts, you're saying all the transcripts are in Greek. Yeah.
Was it, but
Yeah, but what's what we're told?
I'm sorry, I was going to work on that.
The New Testament was written in Greek.
A bunch of little ones.
What's the original? There's some that was written in Aramaic.
I don't have any.
At least that's transcript. Yeah. Well, yeah.